I'm going to walk you through that step by step of how to hire virtual assistants. Being a virtual assistant is one of the easiest way to get started, and as a business owner, it's one of the roles that you usually want to hire right away. Hey there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, my goal is that after this video is to be able to walk you through the process of how to hire a virtual assistant. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lacaba. I have been working from home since I was 15 years old, and I post videos on how to have an online career every Sunday and how to have an online business every Thursday. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, our topic for today is something that I love talking about, which is virtual assistants, if you guys have noticed with the many videos on my channel. And it's because as someone who's been working from home for a while, being a virtual assistant is one of the easiest way to get started. And as a business owner, it's one of the roles that you usually want to hire right away, especially if you've never hired before. I'm going to walk you through that step by step of how to hire virtual assistants. Now, in my agency, 2XU, this is our specialty. It's hiring, managing, and growing executive assistants, so not just virtual assistants, for a lot of our clients. And if you are someone who you're not quite sure yet, you have no idea what a virtual assistant is, then keep watching this video. Now, the first thing is I do want to get the definition of what a virtual assistant is in the usual sense. The word virtual assistant, or the phrase virtual assistant, has kind of muddied of what it is, but what a virtual assistant usually is a person who, as the title will suggest, virtually assists you in different parts of your business. This could be someone who is just a general VA, or this could be someone who is a more specialized VA or virtual assistant. So there is a range, but typically a virtual assistant is someone who helps you out in your business, usually on the admin or the behind the scenes stuff. And if you guys want a more detailed explanation of what is a virtual assistant, you can check out my video on what a virtual assistant does. And also, I do have a video of what my own assistant does for me, so then you can have a better idea of what an assistant can do for you. Now, to the actual process of how to hire an assistant. The first one is you do have to figure out what kind of assistant that you need. Like I said, you guys can check out that video I talked about where you can find out what are the different tasks a virtual assistant can even do for you. But you want to be able to sit down, take a piece of paper or on your iPad or on computer, and just take 10 minutes to build out like what are the tasks that needs to get done in your business but you don't want to do. Now, one of the things that I usually recommend our clients is you actually want to observe, like from Monday to Friday, what are the tasks that are either taking too much of your time that can easily be given to someone else. So for example, lead generation, email management, calendar management, what are the things that take up a lot of your day that you technically don't really have to be the one doing them. So try to, again, observe throughout your week what are the different things that doesn't make sense that you're the one doing them. Make that list so then you can start compiling what are the things that your assistant can do for you, which then mean that you'll know what type of assistant you need. Like I say, usually there's two types. There's the general virtual assistant, who's usually kind of like a jack or Jill of all trades, and there's the specialized virtual assistant where they're specialized to like one corner of your business. So an example would be they're your social media manager. So their tasks are mostly going to be, graphics, captions, writing. They're probably not going to do a lot of admin stuff for you, depending on how you set the parameter or the boundaries, basically, of what the job can look like. They can definitely start, as if they were a general VA. They can also start taking over some of your social media, some of your admin stuff, and start taking off, like I said, those tasks that you don't want to be doing anymore. Next is you also want to make sure that those tasks are actually profitable, or that it makes sense that you're going to hire someone for those tasks. So what I mean by that is, now that you have your list of tasks, usually the process that I ask our clients to go through is what we call the 80-20 assessment, where we go through, okay, what are the tasks that you do in a week, and what are things that only you specialize in, what are the tasks that still need to get done but then you don't want to do them anymore, what are the tasks that you kind of enjoy, you kind of have it in your business but they don't really make you directly money, and of course what are the tasks that you need to assess and delete. So you want to categorize the tasks that you laid out into those four, and make sure basically that the tasks that you're giving to your assistant aren't going to accidentally hurt your business. For example, one of the mistakes that I see a lot of people do a lot is they immediately want their assistant to start taking over sales. The mistake there is basically your assistant doesn't know your business as well as you do. They don't have your full script. They might have references from past jobs that they've had before, but it's not going to be the same as you selling your product or your service. That's why you really need to assess if you are giving your assistant the right task. Next is, of course, you want to start now creating the actual job description. Now, there's not really a template that is the tried and true, like this is the only way that you can get an assistant. Most of the time, even if you have just these 5 important parts, you're good. What I recommend is first have the title of the kind of VA that you want. So for example, if you want your assistant to mostly really have graphic skills, because let's say you have a more visual business, you are on Instagram, you're on Pinterest, then you want to title your job post as graphic virtual assistant. You want to make sure that it is clear from the title of the job ad itself that you are attracting the right person right away with the right skills. Now, that's the first one. The next one is you're making sure that you're also introducing yourself. You have to introduce the company or the business that you have to kind of, again, attract the right people. Because if you say that you are in an industry that they might not be comfortable with or familiar with, then again, you're filtering those people out. The third thing that you want to make sure you put in is, of course, their role and responsibilities. Make sure that it is kind of mostly outcome based, if you can, of what are things that you expect them to do. The fourth thing that you need for that job ad is making sure that you have some sort of additional filter of when they submit their application. So for example, for us, we say, hey, make sure that in your subject line, you change it to this. Or, hey, make sure that in the application letter, you're adding this. So the reason why we do that is we want to filter out the people who are just mass applying without actually reading the job description. And we make sure that those are the right people who basically, again, didn't just send 50 other people the same resume and the same application letter. And the fifth thing, the final thing that you make sure that it's in your job description is a way to find out more about your business. So for example, adding maybe your Facebook link or your website, that way they can research and look you up. Next is, let's say you've already put out the job ad, it's already out in the world. Next is you want to start documenting what are the different tasks that you know you're going to be giving to your assistant. What I mean by this is simply by creating a screen recording video using a tool called Vidyard or Loom, you are able to record yourself doing a task that you're going to be soon giving to your assistant. That makes it so much easier for them to have a way to train themselves. You don't have to train them yourself on how to do the tasks in your business. This is just the easiest and fastest way that you can train or give someone clear instructions on how things are supposed to get done. Next is, let's say you've put out the job ad, you've gotten a few applications, you've gotten a few replies. Then you want to make sure that you also list out what are the different values or what are the different priority values for you in an assistant. So this is more focusing on soft skills. Like, do you really need an assistant who has leadership skills? An assistant who is more outgoing versus someone who might be a little bit more timid or shy? Do you need an assistant who is self-motivated or has really big goals so they can keep going even though they don't have a lot of instruction or context from you? So as you're looking through the resumes that you get, the application letters that you get, it's going to be easier for you to filter who you really want to work with by, again, using those values in your head of like, okay, this person complains too much, this person mentioned this, which is a red flag for me. So you're essentially just making more filters to make sure that you're not just hiring based on skill, you're also hiring based on attitude. Next then is, of course, you need to onboard your virtual assistant. Now I have a whole video on how to onboard an online employee, which you guys can check out. But basically the short version of that is make sure that they have the right tools, the right tasks, and of course the right training and resources to really just get them going without you having to micromanage them. They already know what to do next, one after the other, because you've given them that resource. Next is, once they're onboarded, they're getting started already. Next is you really want to build that loyalty. Having a virtual assistant, whether you chose someone who might be doing part-time or someone who's doing full-time, you want to build that loyalty of how can they start feeling invested in your business. Now, this is not usually an easy feat, but usually I actually recommend for our clients that you ask them 2 questions. Every day, you do check-ins, up to you, but asking them, hey, how are you? And do you need anything? This is super simple, but when you ask this question, you're giving them the space to be able to air out any questions, air out anything that they're scared of bringing up with you, because you just said, do you need anything? You're asking them, you're opening up that conversation of, hey, I know you're new. Let me know if you need anything, because then I can help give you that clarity of how to move forward. Next is, as you're building that loyalty, make sure that you guys have communication loops. I've talked about this in the video of the 5 mistakes that I see when it comes to working with a remote team, where they don't have a way to check in with each other. So for example, inside of our company, we have daily reports, we have a weekly team check-in, and we also have a monthly coaching. So because we have that regular way of communicating and going back and forth with each other, it eliminates the friction basically of things not getting done because they weren't able to bring things up. Again, it gives that space to be able to air out any problems or anything that they may be stuck with. Then once you have those communication loops, one of the next things that you want to make sure that you do with your assistant is to make sure that you start building more of those documentation. Not just you now creating those videos, they're also creating those videos themselves of new tasks that you've given them, or them updating your old videos. So this could include finding new shortcuts or using new tools to be able to do tasks. It could include like documenting a whole project of from start to finish of how it was done. That way you are slowly removing yourself more definitely on those tasks, because they are now creating the documentation themselves. You have that feeling of ownership, which they do have over the task, by being now the expert of how to get this particular task done. And as a pro tip, when it comes to working with virtual assistants, make sure that you really work on their own goals. One of the things that most employers forget is your assistant is also a person who has a life. They have goals in their lives, they have things that they want to achieve, and the more that you help them out, you mentor them and you work with them on what their goals are, the more that they'll invest back into your business. The best example of this is actually myself. When I started out in the job that I had before, I was a book editor, I was editing books, I was doing this all online, and my manager at that time just simply started investing more in me and then recommended me to our boss and actually talked me up a little bit. And then that boss started investing more of like, okay, what are different ways that I can grow? And it came to the point where I actually ended up being CEO of that company. And even though I was there for like years, when I wanted to separate out and start 2XU, I still wanted to work with them. I made them my co-founders. Even though this was my little baby, I really wanted to still work with them because they invested so much in me that I was still invested to continue growing with them. And I've seen this happen so many times with a lot of our own assistants inside of 2XU, where the more that their client also asks about them, asks about their goals, and actually invests in those goals, the more that the assistant actually wants to stay, because they can see that alignment, that when I'm here, I can get to my goals faster than when I'm doing this alone. Not to say, of course, that if it is time for, the path, it doesn't make sense, to keep going, to also learn how to let go, accepting that some people just aren't going to be there for a long term. That's why you want to make sure that you take care of them in the best way that you can, so that when you leave, you part as friends and you guys have a good relationship that in the future might benefit the both of you. Now, if you guys like this video, of course, make sure to hit that thumbs up button right there and comment below, have you ever worked with a virtual assistant before? And what other questions do you have about working with virtual assistants? Let me know and I might do a future video of it. And of course, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday on how to have an online career and every Thursday on how to have an online business. And you guys can check out the latest video right here. Now, I hope you have an awesome day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!